Hey, it's Tess from the Sharing Kindness podcast. Welcome back. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about positive psychology and the science behind it. There's a lot of studies and science behind positive psychology. And in doing research just for this episode today, I found studies on gratitude and the effects that this has on happiness and overall life satisfaction. However, there's a massive gap in the childhood education role. Like
I wonder,
yeah, so
I wonder why there's such a gap.
I just honestly think it's time. Time, lack of
Mm,
resources. Our teachers are doing
yeah,
the
true.
greatest, their best as that they possibly can, honestly. And I
Totally.
think it's just a generational kind of, it takes a long time and it takes a lot of
Yeah,
effort
yeah,
to change the way that
that's true.
and I think it
Yeah,
becomes
yeah,
this whole, they change the curriculums to have more maths and more grammar or whatever it is.
that's a good point. Yeah,
But we need to
yeah.
get positive psychology out to children ASAP. Like, and this is already why we're doing Sharing Kindness. We've got Carl here, my co-host.
Hey guys, how's it going? I know that a big one for today's episode is talking about positive psychology. I know that we've been talking a lot about that TED Talk from Sean. I'm going to say his name wrong. Is it Sean Acor? Sean Acor?
Acorn.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You know how to say it?
I
Acorn?
know.
Okay, yeah.
Acorn.
Acorn?
It's like
Sean
squirrel.
Acorn. Yeah. So he's a Harvard psychologist, released a whole bunch of research based on positive psychology, the impacts that 21 days of 2 to 5 minutes of gratitude can increase your productivity by what, 300%, life factor
Life
score or something like that.
satisfaction.
What
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
numbers, sorry?
Life satisfaction. I
There
don't
you
know.
go. Life satisfaction. Yeah. So it was something like
Mm,
by doing
but
21 days of a
two.
gratitude practice of 2 minutes to 5 minutes a day, you can improve your life satisfaction score by 40%, your creativity by 50%, and your productivity by
Something.
350%.
Something.
And the craziest thing about that was that it lasted
Over a
for a
year. Yeah.
year. When they followed
Mm,
up after the initial research, they
unreal.
asked the same numbers and people still scored
Mm,
higher a year after doing that gratitude practice. That
it's unreal.
is revolutionary, don't you think?
Oh, totally. And I think it all comes down to the default position that we then have got in terms of what do we search for when we're going through hardship or difficult
Mm,
times. It's like, what do we search for? Is it just the negative, or do we have that like little tiny inclination of looking on the positives?
yeah,
It's like we want to spread more positivity
amazing.
for our children. It's like the next generation of
Mm,
mindful leaders or whatever you want to call them. But honestly, we need to do something. And so, if
mm.
there's any early childhood educators, child psychologists, or anything who wants to work with us and help us get more positive psychology out into the world, please just contact us because that's our
Should
mission.
we flash the number up on the screen? You
Mhm.
can call us here.
Yes, exactly. Call me now.
Yeah. No, but
um,
that's amazing, Tess. Being a nurse and looking at the science and finding how impactful this is for people's well-being, and then applying that in your
mm,
own way to a business that can take a product to teach kids gratitude and help
mm,
impact them to be better off, giving them a good foundation
yeah.
in their lives to be awesome people and see the world in through a grateful lens. Like, what
Mm.
an amazing mission
Oh,
that you've embarked on. And the fact that you have found a gap, that the education system, yeah, I know that things take a while, and
mm,
I totally get that. I think you answered that pretty well, actually. I think about like germ theory and how
mm,
long that took from people actually going, hey, there's germs, to doctors actually being like, yes, there's germs. Like, we take a while to adopt these
yeah.
things, don't we? So it totally makes sense that even though there's groundbreaking research behind positive psychology, it's going to take a while for it to get into
Mm,
schools. So I commend you for setting up products that
mm,
help teach kids
mm.
to be more positive. Like, what an amazing business.
Yeah, and so it's just it's actually honestly so nice to have a purpose bigger than myself. I think that's my
Yeah.
kind of, and like in on that note, I say this from the bottom of my heart that I don't have, Sharon Kindness don't have any competitors. Like it,
Mm.
of
Wow.
course we're copyright and all these things, but honestly, Sharon Kindness we can't have any competitors because if we share the same purpose and that purpose being bigger than ourselves, all we can have is just allies.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
really mean that because
Mm.
yeah, I take my hat off to anyone else who wants to, you know, open up a company and they have a mission and they feel like they have, and they're part of, go for it. Like, and if you're scared, practice some gratitude along the way and you'll get there.
Yep. Yeah, that's an amazing message. It's kind of like you're changing your glasses, aren't you, by doing gratitude practice? And it's so easy to get lost in the weeds just with all the negativity in the world. And I remember for my degree, I did a paper on, you know, the negatives of media and how much negative news there was. It was something like for every 18 pieces of news that was coming up, 17 of those were negative. And if you're exposed to that, of course, you're going to have your flight or fight response triggered. Yeah. So if you are constantly having glasses put on your face that are going to, you know,
different lenses. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what positive psychology is all about. It's not about getting you from depressed to okay. It's about how do we get people from okay to fully, you know, fulfilled individuals.
Like I mentioned before, I'm a nurse. So in anything I do, I always look for evidence, research. It all just has to be proven, I suppose. But on that note, I'm also a very, very strong believer of law of attraction, and, you know, like attracts like the very bright Sir Isaac Newton taught us about. But
who's Isaac Newton? Sorry.
Oh, I don't know.
I've heard of him.
But I mean, but honestly, like attract like, and put it how you want. It's the masses. How are we all held together? And it's all energetically, and your thoughts and feelings are essentially also energy.
Good vibrations, right?
Very good vibrations. But at the same time, my brain still always steers towards this whole science. Yeah, to some degree, you just need to know that there's some sort of structure behind it in whatever you choose to do.
Absolutely, yeah. Science is super important, right? Like everything that we enjoy in our day and age right now is thanks to science. Most of it, anyways.
I know.
So it's good to kind of focus on the numbers and the facts and make sure that anything you're doing is based in actual science.
Yeah, and research, exactly. And as it turns out, there's just not enough research, especially in the early childhood. There's just not much research being made.
I was shocked to find that out, to be honest. Like, just doing research, even for this show, there's a lot of studies for positive psychology and the benefits of gratitude practice. There's a lot of studies in early childhood psychology and early childhood education, but you don't see a lot of the benefits of positive psychology with early childhood education, which that seems to me, if you're trying to set up the next generation for the best lives they can, why wouldn't you base it on positive psychology? It's crazy.
It's full on. And I think this is where, so I'm just, you know, like attract likes, and what you put out comes back. So I'm going to put my hand up and I'm going to say, if someone wants me to facilitate some sort of research on any way, shape, way, or form when it comes to positive psychology, send me a message. But I know, like, and that is my ultimate view, and my ultimate hope is to perhaps get into schools and have them just base it more on that whole happiness. This Sean Aker guy who did this TED talk, I'll put a little note in the section below, but has done extensive research and all the rest of it, and he bases all his stuff on the little bits of research that has already been done. But he basically says that we've got the formula is around the wrong way, because we think that we strive for success, whether that's in jobs or relationships or, you know, sports or whatever it is. And then the minute that we've reached that success, we change the goalpost. It's like more sales. So you've got to run faster, you've got to jump higher. And whereas we just need to swap that around. And because if I achieve all that, I'll be happy. So
essentially it's like, you got to stop chasing happiness in the future and understand the happiness is here and now, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of
and he talks about like how through doing things from, like, I think he calls it happiness advantage or something like that. And like how if you're doing things through the happiness advantage, like your intelligence levels go up, your creativity goes up, energy levels go up. Like, yeah, it's crazy. And then, like, why aren't we teaching our children this now?
Pretty staggering, isn't it? That the fact that we have now figured out that by simple little exercises, like 2 to 5 minutes a day, you can drastically improve your productivity, your creativity, your happiness, your life satisfaction score. All these things you can increase by very minute practices that you do daily. Talk about those in a second, I'm sure. But the fact that we have this science that shows this so clearly, we're not teaching that to children, that blows my mind. Why aren't we doing that? That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. And this is it. And this comes back to this whole rewiring of brains. Like I'm
Mm.
having to rewire my brains to learn that now. But if that had have just been my default position from early childhood, like that would have been a lot better, like
I
way
think
better.
this to me, this is why I love sharing kindness, is the fact that you're taking the cutting edge science in terms of what makes people happy, and you're teaching that to the people that need it most in society, which is the next generation. The
Yeah,
fact that the education system hasn't yet caught up, well, that just gives you a gap in the market, doesn't it? Like it's
totally.
the world needs.
I know. And I know we touched on that in the first episode as well, but it's also a practice. And I think we just also just got to remember this whole thing that you don't perfect it straight away.
Yeah.
It's small steps in the right direction. But one thing I need to really point out is I've always considered myself a very thankful and grateful type of person, but not until I actually started this whole practice myself, like 2 minutes a day, like I would get up in the morning and before I put my feet down on the freaking floor and before I reached for my phone to check my freaking messages, I would go, I am thankful for blah, blah, blah. And then I did like 3 things and then I just get up and do my thing. And then before I go to bed, I go to bed with a little rock, a little moon rock, and I just say, thank you, thank you, thank you for 3 things. And like, honestly, since I've done that, it's transformational. Like I can't even, and it's so simple. Like it is so
That's
simple.
It sounds simple, right? But I guess it's like doing push-ups. Like not everybody does push-ups when they first wake up. Not everybody
No.
does push-ups before they go to bed. It's just not a normal thing. But I'm sure it would help you in strength training. So it's like
Maybe I should do that too.
Yeah, thank you. I guess it's just like that. It's like you've got to do the exercise to improve yourself and make sure that you're healthy. And there's nothing more important than a healthy mind and a healthy outlook on life. And the science does show that. I love that TED Talk video because the way he breaks it down in terms of what exercises you can do daily, 3 things you're grateful for, write that down in your journal. Super simple. You can do that at the end of the day. You can do that at the first thing in the morning. You can do it
anytime.
I don't know,
Whenever. On the toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, everyone brings their toilets. It would, like I think that is the strangest phenomenon of all time. It's like every single person who goes to the toilet, every person on lunch break, will bring our phones into our toilets. So instead of scrolling, just jot down 3 things that you're grateful for.
Yeah, totally. And I think as well, like just doing these practices, like back to the TED Talk video, he talks about simple things you can do and doing it consistently every day.
Yeah.
He did a study, Sean Acker did a study, 3 weeks, 21 days was enough to permanently change the study group's scores in life satisfaction and productivity for up to a year. They followed up with them a year later and they still were scoring higher than where they started their baseline life satisfaction scores. That's crazy. They did it for 3 weeks and it had a year-long impact on changing the way they thought. Like you talked about in the first episode, Tess, all about neuroplasticity, isn't it? Like you're teaching your brain a new pathway to see things in a more positive way. You're looking for things to be grateful for. So it's essentially you're strengthening that muscle by writing down 3 things you're grateful for, and it teaches you to look for things to be grateful for.
And this is it. Look for the positives. And I thought of an analogy actually about like the whole neuroplasticity and these whole pathways. It's a bit like this. Say, picture yourself in front of like a field. I'm assuming that fields are really high. Maybe they're not, but maybe a bamboo field or some sort of field. Some sort of field where the straws are higher than yourself. And you know that water housing shelter is on the other side of that field. You just don't know the way how to get there. So you're going to get there and you're going to scroll and eventually you're going to get there somehow. It might not be the shortest or the fastest, the route, whatever. But you got there, fine. Picture yourself again. Next day, you're on the same side and you know the house is on the other side. What route are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the same one that you know gets you there? Or are you going to take a chance and perhaps end up finding a quicker route to the other side of the field? And your brain is 100% in that aspect going to take the same route that you always, or that you did last time, because it's survival. It's essentially, it's less capacity for the brain to use the same path that you know is going to get you. But
That makes sense.
little did you know, perhaps, that by taking the chance and coming up with a new path to the other side might have saved you 2 days.
That makes sense. Yeah. So essentially, what you're doing when you start doing gratitude practice, or you start doing any of the things that they talk about with positive psychology. So it could be journaling something that you're grateful for. It could be saying thank you or doing an act of kindness every day. It could be meditating. It could be exercising from memory. So the best combination is doing all those things. So essentially, you're saying that if you, by doing those things, you're learning better ways to get to the house through the field.
Yeah.
And then your brain is basically going, the first time it's going to be tough, and you're kind of, have to push through all the canola.
All the canola, whatever it is, oats, I don't know.
Then once you get there, you know the path, and it's just making sure that you're practicing it, because each day you're going to be clearing that path and wearing it down a bit more until that path becomes super clear, and you've kind of pushed down the canola and you've got a path straight to the house, right?
Yeah.
So is that right?
Yeah, totally. But perhaps the first time when you're crossing the field, the very first time you choose to practice your random act of kindness or the gratitude or whatever it is, you have to choose a new path. And that new path is going to be, like you said, is going to be tough. It's going to be tough and it's going to be hard. But if you know that, exactly. Yeah, anyway, I'm not very good at analogies.
No, I like it. I think analogies are really easy ways to understand something complex. So if you can make it relatable, it works, although I've never seen canola before.
No,
so
me neither.
They
might not even be high. Exactly. I was just thinking of that last. I was like, oh God. But it's just getting back to that whole reversing the formula, I think. And I think that's how it is. We just need to change the way we teach our children about being happy. And I know, for a fact, that all of my happiness all throughout my life has been attached to achievements, 100%. And that keeps feeding the perfectionism, because if you didn't win the race, if I didn't do well, if I didn't do the best at the test at school, or if I didn't do that, the weight on your shoulders just gets to, whereas imagine if I could have just been happy with what I achieved, but still working hard enough.
From what I gathered with the TED Talk video and all the studies that we've gone through for today's video, they talk a lot about how we're primed in our current education system to focus on external validation and goal setting that is future dated. So it's always about passing this test. It's always about achieving our best in the future. It's about getting that job, landing this promotion, getting the fancy new car. Making the sales. And it's very, very rarely do they talk about internal validation, where it's like perceiving the goodness that you have in your life already and counting your blessings and looking at things from a sense of gratitude and doing things for yourself, than doing it for the validation of others. It's kind of, you're building your house on sand, so to speak, when you're looking at your own self-worth, when you focus on all the external validation. So we're taught that at a young age, which then primes us for a life of empty rewards. And when we do get them, it's kind of ash in your mouth. Whereas
and then we changed the goalpost. So we reached, and I did gymnastics, and I did a lot of gymnastics and highly competitive, but it's like once you've learned to do one flip, you've got to do two flips. And once you've learned to do two flips, you do. And it's like there's never a ceiling of I am enough, because you're just not. Well, totally. You are, but you just don't feel it.
Well, it's interesting. So I guess to summarize, like the science of sharing kindness, what is it that you're pulling into your products and your games here? Because obviously it's positive psychology. How does it work with the lessons you're trying to teach?
The honest truth to this whole thing about positive psychology, it's so goddamn simple. And it's just consistency. And honestly, and even if you got to set yourself reminders or whatever, but how hard is it to practice gratitude for 2 to 5 minutes a day, whether that's in the morning, lunchtime, freaking afternoon, evening, for all I care? Like, it's not.
I think it sounds simple, but I guess that the hard part is consistency, isn't it? Like, exactly. We all struggle with consistency. It's part of being human, I think. So it's really, it might be 2 to 5 minutes a day, but remembering to show up every day, that's the hard part.
And it is that.
And I think that's where sharing kindness comes in, isn't it? Like you've based all of your products and all of the amazing resources that you put together. Even like you've got, your free week, your free challenges, and all of the things that you've done that I've seen over the years. They're all focused on consistency and making it easy and making it
trying
achievable.
to, and it needs to be
It's
easy and achievable. Like it has to be.
Totally. And that's it. Like, I think from my understanding, being somebody who supported the sharing kindness journey as much as I can, I think that I've seen you kind of find different ways to make this science of positive psychology. How do you create that into a fun and engaging way to interact with your kids? So Christmas, an advent calendar, brilliant idea, because you can swap something out that's already a family activity. Instead of sharing a sweet together, you're teaching your kids positive psychology in a family activity that leads up to Christmas, which is supposed to be all about giving and connection and
sharing.
Your family and sharing. So it's such an easy way to introduce this incredibly powerful, scientifically proven method to your kids, a solid foundation for how they do everything in life, which it's genius.
Call me Einstein if you want.
Einstein.
But even him, like that, honestly, through all of how, like, I mean, he changed the way we look at the world, like the whole like seriously. And all he did ever, in every single thing he did, he never took like credit. All he did was just thank other people. And apparently there's stories being told, whatever, that he did like 100 times a day. He said thank you for something.
Wow.
So that kind of goes insane. I know. And that's kind of, it goes to show.
That's one thing that I found very interesting with going back to like the secret and talking about, the law of attraction, how they talk about all these incredible, you call them, events and people throughout history. The commonality is that they all had a growth mentality, a growth mindset. They all had very positive,
optimistic outlook on life.
Exactly. And they were very grateful. They didn't take credit for their work. They kind of thanked either God, the universe. They said, these ideas came to me. I didn't come up with them, and that's an amazing way to look at things. It's very much like you're thankful for, you take accountability for everything in your life, but at the same time, that it's coming to you, from a higher source or whatever.
And this is what I mean. And I don't know whatever, but I get what you're trying to say, because it's the fact that it's the feeling of, it's no wonder that he was given, if you're going to look at it that way, attract like. Like it's not strange that he was given all of those ideas or knowledge, because when you to give, you get back. It's full on. But I actually just wrote a book. Oh my God, haven't even told you about that. But the point is, what I did with this book is that, so I've written the book, and I have had kids from my community here on the Gold Coast draw the pages for the book, and it's based upon all the floods and all that's happened. But anyway, the point is getting kids involved in their own kindness that they create. They're so much more likely to make it part of their belief system. Like, instead of 100%. Us just teaching. And I've 100% seen that so clearly with my kids. Is like, I thought that it would be enough for me telling them that you are enough and you are special and, like all these things. But it's not. Like, they need to, first of all, watch me do it. Second of all, practice it themselves. Thank you so much for listening today. I really, really hope you got some value from it and learned something. Please stay tuned, because the next episode we're going to be talking about a new product that we'll be launching, and I am so bloody excited to share it with you. So
me too. Can't wait.
Stay tuned. We'll be back soon. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you like what you heard, can you please subscribe to us or follow us on YouTube? It would honestly mean the absolute world to us. And if you would like to leave a comment or a review, please do so. If you would like to back our Kickstarter campaign, you can do so on Kickstarter. Type in Sharing Kindness and it will come up, or go to our website, sharingkindness.com. Stay tuned, and thank you so much for all your support. We will see you in the next episode. Thank you.